Hey there, YouTube. I'm Yukitsu, this is the Yukitsu Times. Welcome to my channel. Welcome back. So things at this point in time are looking a little bit more grim, but fortunately, we're just about finished uniting the British Islands. And one of the great things about uniting a front and sort of making it so that an area of the map is relatively locked down, relatively safe, is that you can dismiss the armies in that region. And you can see that we've done this in Africa because I feel relatively safe there. If we do start losing Africa, that's no big deal. We can start consolidating around Spain near Malacca or Hispalis and then try and retake it. That's one of those miscalculations that can happen where you think that you're secure somewhere and you aren't. But Britain, we can be fairly certain that we're going to be relatively safe. We'll have to move our garrison to Camalodunum, and it's going to have to be halved in size. We're going to make sure that our army is much smaller, and that's going to dramatically reduce the cost. But first to do that, we have to take Ablana. Now, the key thing at this point in time is I don't want the Abdanians to attack me. No, we're going to try and get them to declare war on someone else here. And again, this is that thing that we've been doing. We've been trying to make sure that everyone is at war with somebody else. And I'm not going to have you watch me doing this with everybody again. Some people, it doesn't really matter. The Anteans are far too far away for it to matter whether they're at war with somebody or not. But on the whole, you just need to make sure that these Abdanians are unlikely to declare war on me and attack Saguntium, because I need this fleet to be intact for next turn. Or the turn after, I can't really remember which. But in any event, what we need to do is make certain that we're going to survive sort of that one extra turn. And if we can't manage that necessarily, we have to make sure that at least they're not going to be able to do too much damage to Saguntium. Because, I mean, in the very worst case scenario, I can move this army, force march down here, have to win probably a field battle. That's probably going to be part of that. And then I can go ahead and probably attack Ablana. Okay, so I can probably do that. I can probably take it out, but what's going to happen is they're going to scatter, like, seeds in the wind, and it's going to be awful because they're just going to be everywhere, and I'm not going to be able to easily destroy them as a faction. So they're going to be rampaging around the back lines. I want to keep them as close as possible. In fact, it's very likely to happen regardless, just because this one army isn't inside their encampment, and I'm unlikely to be able to wipe that stack with a single attack. So we're going to have to try and do our best to keep that area locked down and secure. Over here, we've consolidated some of our units into single units to try and get this as much as possible together. And we're not going to recruit those extra Germanics that we could potentially get here, just because we can't really afford to. Now, we do probably want to get an army down to Sopianier, but that's going to be for later. For now, we need to watch out for the people who seem to be menacing my border over here. And it's going to be hard to defend if I have to, but we're going to go ahead and hit end turn anyway. Oh, right. Let's go ahead and redo this. Let's go ahead and give that to... I think that this guy doesn't really have much of an army yet, so it's worthwhile giving him the Pancration Gloves. That will go ahead and let anyone that he recruits in future, since he has no army, that will be quite a few more units than everyone else, extra experience points. So hopefully everything will go relatively okay. Let's see. All I really need are for the Abdanians to not declare war on me. This works out okay, but not great. Because now I can kill their one army and then push onwards towards them. There's the Jutes. That's problematic, potentially. I might be able to pay the Franks enough money to get them to go to war so I don't have to reinforce Camalodunum, but what I can also do is just let them raid Camalodunum. I mean, it's a big hit to public morale. It's expensive to repair, but if you're having to deal with every single attack and you absolutely feel like you cannot let any of those attacks go, you're going to end up doing more harm to yourself than good. You have to realize when it's okay to let people destroy things and when it's okay to move your armies to defend. And I have too many objectives right now that I have to accomplish for it to be sensible for me to go ahead and try and check the Jutes. The Vandals have been destroyed. Fantastic. Okay, so we've managed to... someone was drunk on watch. Fantastic. Alright, so... in these cases, it doesn't really matter what you pick. It's not necessarily that easy to figure out. I'm going to flog him just because I feel it's appropriate. But let's go into our technology, and we're going to go ahead and get tributary servants. It's going to increase our income just a little bit. We've got quite a bit more money than you would necessarily think under these circumstances, just because we've gone ahead and we've burned down a couple of buildings, in particular the hill fort. We've downgraded. I was considering keeping it at level 2, but I mean, it's just so expensive to keep it that way. Now, what do we see here is that the Abdanians have actually moved their army outside of their city still. So Ablana doesn't actually have a proper garrison, but that doesn't matter because it will be reinforced by the Horns of Serunos, which is going to prevent me from easily taking the city. The other problem is that since I've got this strike force that I planned on using to attack the city, I can't actually do that very effectively necessarily. What's going to happen is that Ablana over here is going to be attacked by my boats. I'm not going to be able to take the city with just the boat crew. I'm going to have to rely on my reinforcing army, and they're not going to be able to capture it before the reinforcements come. So that makes it much more likely that they're going to end up defending effectively against that. So we'll have to think of how we're going to do this very, very finicky. The way I normally like to do this is I like to force march my army down to as close to Ablana as possible, and sometimes they can reinforce. Typically what happens is actually I destroy the Abdanians before I destroy the Picts. So that's sort of how that works. In any event, though, let's go ahead and check how things are going. The Franks and the Vandals have declared war, but the Vandals are dead. The Markmans and the Vandals have declared war, but they're dead, so that doesn't matter. But yeah, I mean, we've demolished these buildings to get that extra tiny bit of income to hopefully fix things for us, and we've resolved a food shortage, so that's going to help us out as well. Now, you might think that I'm not spending enough money or time or effort on increasing my economy. One of the interesting things about Rome is that they have a really rapid public disorder slide, but if we were to go to Octodorum, the way that the mechanic works is regions that have wars adjacent to them, have a lot of war near them, get immigrants. But I've actually got plus 2%. I've got an 18% immigrant population here in Narbonensis, and there's been no conflict near there. And these guys are increasing my economy by 2%. And if we were to go into our treasury here, immigrant population is adding over 1,000 to our income every turn. That's actually going to slowly trend upwards no matter what I do. And you can actually take advantage of this pretty effectively. Like, you're going to have increasing public disorder problems, so you're going to have to constantly increase your public control. But at the same time, you're going to have your guys, as much as possible, improve their ability to stop that public disorder slide. You're going to try and make everywhere happier. You're going to try and make everywhere more productive without necessarily making them better at earning money, because they'll passively increase in their ability to make money. So that is one of the things that you need to consider when you're playing as Rome. You don't need to upgrade your infrastructure in the same way that any other faction does. So let's go check out the Abdanians. They are at war with the Saxons, and I don't really care about that because we're also at war with the Saxons. The relationship of us declaring war on them is going to be relatively moot, but no one else is their ally. They're not well liked by anybody in particular, and that is all well and good to our advantage. So we're going to go ahead and declare war on them. We're not going to bring in our allies because we don't need to. And we're going to, once again, try and get other people into the war here. Now the Alamans, finally, we can get them to join wars with us. They want 200 bucks, that's fine. We're going to give them the money. For some reason, it makes them really, really like the Eastern Roman Empire, so I think there might be a bug there or something, I don't know. But, oh, wow, what have you guys been doing? Holy crap. So the Alans over here, everyone in their entire tribe is named Alan. They're at war with everybody. That's fantastic. Okay, they're at war with the Jutes. The Jutes might go and try to fight the Angles instead of me, but I get the suspicion that they're coming to raid Camaludunum. Camaludunum, I don't remember what it's called. It's some weird British name. Old British, that's different from New British. I mean, the people who currently live there don't even speak it. Alright. Who the hell? You got in a war with the Alans? Why would you do that? Alright, well, Gatilians, blah blah blah. The Geats over here. Let's see if we can get these guys into a war with the Jutes. No, we cannot. Let's see if we can get them into a war with the Abdanians, though. Alright. Gepids are already at war with the Yazidis. I'm just going to call them lozenges from now on. I think that makes sense as a name. Alright, and the Lugians.
Come, let me hear your talk.
If there was anything that I would like automated in this game, it would be this form of diplomacy. They're not going to declare war on anybody, actually. And they're at war with the Allans as well. Interesting. Okay, well, nothing we can do about that. Roxolanians, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so what we're going to do is just walk right over and attack this Celtic army. They're going to retreat. That's fine. We'll go ahead and move into our city of Eladon. Or, if we can, kill that Celtic army. Huh. Alright, so we're going to move into the city for now. We should be able to, I believe, force march in one turn, next turn, into their city limits, into the attack range of that city. But this is slightly problematic in the sense that they can attack Saguntium from there, or Eberacum, and that would be very, very unfortunate, but also not a big deal in the grand scheme of things. We'll still be able to take out the Abdanians probably effectively. The other interesting thing is that this army is actually so small that if it attacked in isolation, I would be able to destroy it. So the only thing that could actually really screw me over is if they attacked me at Saguntium and sank my fleet. So planning ahead for that, we're going to go ahead and move our fleet. We're going to move it down to the coast over... let's see here. I do want to figure out how far this guy can move his fleet. He can move it anywhere. I just kind of want to get it into somewhere that he can't easily see it. So the reason that we're doing this is that we'll maintain the ability to attack Ablana with our fleet next turn. So we still have the option to go ahead and sack it using our army from here and from the fleets. And that happens even if they use their concentrated forces to attack Saguntium. What I actually suspect they're going to do is they're going to attack this one with Saguntium with that one army and then defend Ablana with the other army. It wouldn't make a whole lot of sense for them to do it the other way around, but they might. In which case we'll have to do a lot of running battles. Lindum will probably get burned down. Corinium is probably going to get burned down. But you know what? That is going to be fine. Just in sort of anticipation of that, though, we're not going to spend too much money, if at all possible, this turn. We've got still mounting problems in places like Africa. In fact, if we were to go into our list here, we've got imminent rebellions in Africa and Tripolitania. Now, we've only got 2 imminent rebellions, and that means that we can actually manage this just fine. Like, it is okay if you have 2 imminent rebellions. It's bad when you start getting 3. You'll have to start doing things like cutting taxes in places to try and get that risk down. So, what we're going to see here is that we've got exactly 2. That's how much I feel I can deal with. Now, technically speaking, to find out the maximum number of rebellions that you can deal with, go into this tab here and look at how many armies you can recruit. I could recruit 6 more armies potentially. Okay, so the maximum number of rebellions that I could put down is 6. And if I got any more than that, I would physically be incapable of deploying enough armies to stop them. So that could potentially be a major problem, obviously. Now, up here, we're going to have to go ahead and we're going to just add some buildings here, a little bit of infrastructure. Fields as well. Actually, the fields are unnecessary since I can rely on the farmstead for a little while. So I'm going to actually add the Latin baptistry. That's going to be like all our money, but that's fine. I was saying that I didn't want to spend too much, and frankly, too much is not what we have to spend. Okay, so that all has worked out relatively well. Now, I haven't actually had any save states here, so I could find another way to deal with this that might have been a little bit smarter. Let's actually try that. Okay, so after looking at all of my options, basically, I came to sort of the conclusion that, yeah, I've done, I think, the best thing I can with my building, with my money. I think that getting this church up here is going to be very, very important. Even though we've got a little bit of a Latin baptistry here, which should be spreading the influence of Christianity up to this place over here. you can see that it in fact is. It's not going very quickly, so we're going to want that going just a little bit faster. So hopefully these guys are going to go drown themselves in a bog, but in the meantime, let's go ahead and hit end turn here. What the hell? Other governors, right. So public order +5 as a retainer, that is always a fantastic one to get. And as you can see, this is probably going to actually put Insulae Occidentalis into almost positive happiness next turn. In fact, it will be at exactly 0, which is lovely. Right. I was thinking that that place is already well and set, but I'm clearly high. Alright, so let's cancel that. I was like, there's got to be some building that I was forgetting that I had to build. Oh yeah, the really important one in that really important place. We're going to have to replace the building I had there with either fields or a Latin baptistry there. Most likely the fields, I suspect, but we'll find out. In the meantime, let's go ahead and hit end turn again. Because blah. Alright, so the Abdanians and their response to this whole situation is going to be the most interesting thing here. And you can see, indeed, they are just attacking Saguntium, which I kind of suspected was likely. So it's a very, very good thing that we've gone ahead and moved our fleet out of there so that we could still attack them. Now, this is going to be one of those defenses that you're going to play from time to time that you don't feel good playing necessarily, because our goal in this particular battle is to cause as many casualties to these guys as we possibly can, even though we're not going to win. Okay? So we want to make sure that we can, if we could kill 1,000 people maybe, at most, I think is what we could maybe get. That would be fantastic, and we're going to go ahead and do that. And that's going to make it so that we could possibly mop them up and move in and destroy their city. Capture their city, rather. It also means that our fleet could hire the mercenaries and possibly take the city, their city, by themselves without having to resort to an additional attack of that sort. One of the other things is that their units have to disembark. Their units are not going to arrive on the field just yet. So one of the things we could potentially do is wipe out their catapult. But since they have got the 2 units of cavalry that are surprisingly good at melee despite being ranged cavalry, we might be able to take that out. I'm thinking that's better to reserve it and wait until they're sort of in a narrower corridor and then use our cavalry for rear charges or something of that sort. So this is going to be a common battle type. This is one that we're going to lose, and figuring out how to deal with losing battles is sort of a major part of defending in this game. I mean, being able to figure out how to use that attrition to your advantage by making it so that the enemy just gets completely hosed in terms of numbers, and then you come in and clean them up. That's something that you're going to want to learn how to do. One of the other interesting things that we can do is we can also probably snipe their general. It's quite possible that we could snipe their general here. Unless he is... Which one is their general? Celtic Band. Axes. Celtic Warlord, he's back there. Okay, that's probably going to be too difficult for my units to get to, so we're going to have to resort to taking out this guy's boat instead. The Celtic Band over there. Now, they do technically outnumber our troops in these boats, but that shouldn't be a huge problem for us on account of us having plenty of ways to deal with men at sea who are not actually sailors. They'll have a seasickness bonus that gives us a pretty big boost to our efficacy there. We're going to put the barrier down there, I think. I feel that that's a pretty reasonable place. And we're going to probably defend over by this tower over here. Now, you don't necessarily want to defend in the town square if you're not planning on holding the city, especially. If you're causing pure casualties, hiding underneath one of the towers is actually a pretty decent way of going about it. So we could also hide our unit in here of cavalry, and we could use this as a means to destroy their catapult if they decide to start moving towards it. So let's go ahead and we'll start this battle up here. And we'll start pegging away at the ships with our guys here. That's interesting.
Enemy reinforcements!
reinforcements. The
Okay, so these Celtic cavalry over here are
remains of that tower now.
coming towards our cavalry, so we could potentially kill them
The enemy.
with a quick ambush here, but they've got sort of both of them
The enemy
together.
has discovered our hidden troops.
Oh, we've been discovered, so we're going to have to go ahead and deal with this. Now, they are within range of the tower, and that is good for us. So you can see that we've managed to sort of...
Keep him alive. We are
Oh, that general, okay. Did I get boarded here? No, I'm boarding them. Okay.
We await your command. Give way. Moving out.
Let's get more ammunition there. So, over here, the battle's going to go the way it's going to go. I'm not actually thinking I'm going to win this, but I just didn't get out of there in time. So, that's probably really bad, actually, especially because, like, I don't get why these raiders actually beat Melee Cav. It's just such a bad situation, but, oh well. We've managed to break this unit over here, so that's going to be a bit of a bonus there. And ultimately, I think that dealing with their naval units is going to be a little bit more useful to us than dealing with their melee units. Alright, so... Oh, we've got a tiny bit of cav, so they can technically still cause rear charges. And we can get our spears up to here, and that will help. Looks like I'm not going to be able to get my ships into the enemy ships in time here, but we can always go ahead and just land our ships over here. Alright, so they've come around over to here now, and we're going to continue trying to run away with their scout equites, which we're probably going to fail at because they're probably going to rout again, redirect. Oh no, they switched over to firing at my Limitaniae. Fortunately, they are still, of course, getting shot at by the tower, which is great. Looks like they also failed to destroy this tower somehow, although like the entire city block seems to be on fire, which is going to actually ignite the tower and destroy it, which is, you know, not a good thing. Looks like the fire went out, actually. Looks like the fire will actually go out at a certain point. The fire does sort of eventually go out, which is quite nice. Once it hits that point, it's a lot easier to sort of keep these buildings intact. Although the fire damage is actually not 100%, so this is going to burn down. What caught it? Because the fire was beside, wasn't actually still going. Right, well, whatever. Either way, still got our cav now, apparently. Really no idea what's going on there. And we've got our dismounted units over here. Not sure if dismount is the right word. Now, we want to make sure that our... we need to make sure that these guys are actually filled up with ammunition before they leave, because they do have this weird sort of tendency to get off their ship without any ammunition, without grabbing the javelin, so you have to reload before they get off there. Right, let's just charge these guys. Doesn't really matter. There's so few of them left that we can probably break them pretty quickly. We want to be pretty careful with the ammunition on these skirmishers, though. These units that are already basically dead, we don't want to be using our ammunition on. And again, the point here is to cause casualties, it's not to actually win. So, if we can see those guys off, that is fine, but ultimately what we want to do is actually cause casualties, if we can. So them rallying is actually quite good for us. And I'm kind of bungling certain parts of this, this fight here, but that's fine. Okay, so these guys are coming back, so we'll try and finish them off. We're moving some of our units over here. Now, if I can get them out here to fight around this area, we can actually get a bit of an advantage, because we'll have the tower sort of shooting for a little while. It'll probably break, but that's fine. But we can also avoid their line of sight for their archers for a little while here. Who are they shooting at here? Or who do they have line of sight to? This is probably going to burn all the way to our tower, which is a little bit bullshit, but, you know. Oh, they're actually still shooting artillery at us. I didn't think they were in range quite yet. Okay, it is these guys that are getting shot at, but only a little bit. I think the angle's bad for them. Okay, we're gonna start off with our exploratores, I think. And we're gonna let a couple volleys from our skirmishers go first. Okay. We're gonna have to actually... Did these guys not throw? We also want to get our marines into this. So Celtic Levy, relatively weak unit, but these axe units over there, they're going to potentially be quite scary. So we're going to switch our fire over to them, where possible. Cohorts, we're going to switch to defensive testudo for a little while. They have got block chance on their left side, the defensive testudos, so that's not too bad there. The Marines are wavering, everyone's wavering. Part of it is the city destruction. We've got settlement damage up to 30% already, which is quite severe. Yeah, so our units are withdrawing here, which is unfortunate, but you'll see a couple of them start to regroup, and with the cohorts, that'll give these guys a bit of time, because the cohorts are quite good. It means that we can, for instance, go ahead and attack Mercenary Celtic Onager unit here with our melee. The cohorts have retreated. Okay, well, cohorts are shattered, actually. So this has actually been a bit of a flop, just because our morale penalty is so severe from the settlement burning. -7 to everything, basically. It's quite severe, so they managed to get some lucky burns on us, but, you know, this is going to be okay. I think I've done enough damage that I can wipe them out with my actual army, so we're not going to worry too heavily about that. We did cause 635 losses, which is pretty okay. I mean, it's not great, of course, but it is okay. It was nice that we destroyed one of their units at sea as well. Alright, and let's see what we've got going on here. What did you guys decide to do to Saguntium? That's the question. One of the other alternatives that I have is I can raise a larger navy here. They decided to raid Saguntium, so, you know, that's the best option that we can actually get, because that's not really that big a detriment. Okay, so I can't do that option anymore, but that's fine. Although they've completely abandoned Ablana again, which is weird. The Visigoths have decided to start moving through my territory. That's pretty typical. They're trying to retreat from the wrath of the Eastern Romans. Camalodunum, that means, is being attacked, and same sort of situation here. We're going to see if we can get peace from them, but I doubt we can. And this is where things look worse than they really are. It's pretty bad, but I mean, it looks worse than it actually is. And our camera angle is actually also strange, so I don't really know what's going on here. So I got a little bit sloppier, but I think we're still in a very good position to win here. So we got our rebellions in Africa and in Tripoli, which is fine. We already knew about that. And we've got that settlement sacked. That means that we're going to have a rebellion in Britannia Inferior and Mauritania next turn. So that's still 2. That's still fine. high spirits. We've got morale bonus for our troops for a couple of turns, which is good. But in the meantime, let's take a look at what we could potentially do here. I feel as though I want to just take out their city first. That feels like what I want to do initially. And then try and sweep through the rest of his guys. I know his army is here around, roundabouts here somewhere, so let's go ahead and try and see if we can find it. Yeah, it's right there. We could attack it here, and then force march towards the city. So they've retreated, so we won't get a chance to engage their army, but that's fine. I mean, we don't really need to. Now, what's probably going to happen is they're going to get all spiteful and blah, and they're going to burn down a couple of our settlements, but that's okay. We're going to go ahead and attack their settlement with our navy here. And we're going to have to do the slow and annoying process of taking out the last of the Abdanians. This is why I said, like, you really want them to be in the cities when you can attack them, if possible. Obviously, it wasn't possible in our particular circumstances, but it's what you really want to see happening most of the time. Wow, they actually destroyed one of my units. That's really kind of strange, and a little bit upsetting. Anyway, let's go ahead and occupy it. The other thing we could have done is to actually subjugate them, which would have actually probably been smarter in this instance, but I don't feel like that's ever really that important. We'll still manage to get through this eventually. Okay, so we need to find a governor with a high immigration population. Carthage might be a good one. Galatia might be a good one. Let's check here. Immigrants plus 2%. Total economy of pretty poor. It's gone down quite a bit since we've been doing stuff. Magna Graecia, probably the best choice here. So let's go ahead and see if our governor here, if he has a household thing. So nope, so we're going to give him that. Of course, we do want actually the plus happiness where possible, but if it's not possible, then it's not possible. So that is sort of the way it goes. Now then, to deal with the vast number of rebels that you're going to get, you need to sort of look at the context of where they are and what they're doing. So this is a rebel army around Leptis Magna. I can actually withstand fairly large sieges because this is a walled city. So we can ignore that for now for a little bit. But over here, what we're going to do is we're going to find someone that we can take, and we're going to reinstate a legacy here. And Legio 3 Augusta is fine by me. Going to move him into the city, and we're going to recruit a couple Limitaniae border guard. I keep saying the wrong damn thing. We want to check to see what that force is going to be joined by. And it looks like there's not a whole ton of mercenaries that I can rely on in this region here. So I might even get a third border guard. But for now, we'll probably just do this, and if I have to, I will not auto-resolve. Looks like they've got Contarii, but they usually have Exploratores as their melee infantry, so I mean, it's not a hugely threatening melee infantry type. A little bit more worried about the Visigoths than I am the Markomans, so we're going to move our army down to Aquilanium. Aquileia, whatever. I'm very bad at these names here. Alright, let's go ahead and make you better at leadership there. More spreading of religion. And this is pretty much all you need to level them for. I mean, other things are possible, but if you look here, it's already into the decent happiness level, so we're not going to have to worry about that province. We've got it relatively under control, or at least comparatively under control. And if we were to go over here, we can also go to this guy. Spread religion action, we don't need that really, so we're going to get those two for now. And again, this place is getting pretty darn close to positive happiness, and they're still Celtic pagans. Like, Latin Christian is surging up there very, very quickly, so that's going to actually become happy a lot sooner. We might even get it to the point where it's Christian enough that it's not going to revolt ever, if we can get that religious differences down to 0. I don't think we're going to get it down to 0. We might get it down to -1, but in any event, we've got a little bit of time because of this. One of the things that I can opt to do here is move this army to Camalodunum. Now, this does mean that the Jutes could opt to move their army around to Colonia Agrippina, or down to Rhodomagus, but my sneaking suspicion is that they've got a line of sight to here and just didn't have enough movement. So I think that they were thinking that they would attack Camalodunum. And also this gives me an opportunity to sort of pinch off the army from the Abdanians over here. So the last thing I need to do, of course, is go into here, repair that. I'm going to take this apart even though I actually like the fishing jetties. The chieftain's house, we can also tear apart since we don't really want that, and we can tear apart that farmstead. The reason for the farmstead is because we can't upgrade them, and by the time I get around to actually doing it, we'll probably be using these for upgraded farms in spring, so that's why we're doing it that way. In the meantime, I kind of want to look around and think about what we're going to be seeing here. We are going to see a revolt here next turn. I'm hoping it's by Ablana, because that means we'll be able to deal with it. If not, we'll have to retake Eldon or have to retake Tuasis. Because if we look here, all we have is a half-health cohorts unit. So, not defensible. We could deal rebels pretty decent damage, but depending on what their composition is and what they've got, I'm not going to be able to deal with a rebellion there. So that's a thing. This is going to be real annoying, because they're going to be moving around the countryside and just being blah. But eventually we'll run them down and kill them, so that's perfectly fine. So that is pretty much solidifying our borders here, and you can sort of see now that things look much more stable and secure in certain respects, even though they look like they could be potentially getting a lot worse in other respects. Now, the reason that I'm not actually going to build an army up here, even though eventually I'm going to need one in Leptis Magna to chase down the rebels anyway, is because I kind of plan on taking this army. In fact, I will get the third Limitane. But I can actually chase down this army with the one from Constantina and move them down to Sabrata and then start running down these rebels in 2 or 3 turns. So if your rebellions are adjacent to one another, if they're close enough, then you can actually take them out with a single army doing it this way. So that is something that you want to sort of consider and do whenever possible. So anyway, that is enough for this episode. Things aren't going the most smooth that they obviously could. That shouldn't be even a question or an idea that it is going smoothly. But it is the way that things tend to go when you're playing as the Western Romans. It's about sort of crisis management for the first quite while. In fact, you could argue that it's the entire game as the Western Romans is crisis management. And then considering your options as to how to deal with those crises as they arrive. And sometimes you have to make snap decisions, like the funny positioning of the Abdanians, the fact that I had to go to war with the Picts before I had to go with the war with the Abdanians. Normally I like to take Ablana first, actually, and then move to Eldon. It's usually a little bit smoother if I do it that way as opposed to the other way around. So that's kind of the problem that I had here. But if you can't do that, you can't do that. And you have to sort of navigate the politics in whichever way you can. And that's sort of what we've done here. So anyway, I hope you found this video enjoyable. I mean, once you're in this position, it's mostly about politics and defending. Okay, so at this point in time, you mostly want to think of yourself as the defender against all of these enemy hostile forces that, that could potentially be at your border.
Or just mad? Well, speak.
There we go. And even you guys might
Gods
do
of the
this.
afterlife, spare my ass. Well, why do you
No.
try?
Okay. But yeah, I think that you should be able to get pretty far into the game if you've managed to get this far. Like, your crumbling finances is going to be a problem. The fact that your finances are going to be deteriorating is going to be a problem. But it's not a problem that you can fix by sitting around and building up your infrastructure, because you've got all these crises that are cropping up all over the place. So, yeah, that is our look at this turn. I hope you found this enjoyable, and of course, as always, I hope to see you all next time.